Minji sat in silence thinking about Vexran's question. What would come after? If they won this W, the Council's response fleet was the largest military force assembled in galactic history. 5,000 warships from 100 different species, all united under one purpose: to crush humanity and end the rebellion before it spread further. They gathered at the edge of Council space, preparing for the final assault on Earth. Admiral Hyunwoo Park stood in the command center on Luna, watching displays that showed the approaching armada. It was overwhelming. Even with all their preparations, all their secret weapons, humanity was vastly outnumbered. But numbers were not everything. History had taught them that lesson many times. They will hit us in 3 waves, General Sunho explained, pointing to the tactical displays. The first wave will test our defenses. The second will exploit any weaknesses they find. The third will be the killing blow. Traditional Council strategy scaled up to massive proportions. Then we will not give them the traditional battle they expect, Hyunwoo said. We take the fight to them. We strike at their gathering points before they can fully organize. We make them fight on our terms, not theirs. Captain Ji-won Kim commanded a strike force of humanity's fastest ships. Their mission was simple but incredibly dangerous. Penetrate deep into Council territory and attack their staging areas. It was essentially a suicide mission, but every volunteer in her fleet knew what was at stake. Remember, Ji-won told her captains over the secure channel, we are not trying to win battles. We are trying to buy time and create chaos. Hit them, hurt them, and get out. If you have to choose between completing the mission and saving your ship, save your ship. We need you alive for what comes next. The human strike force jumped into Council space like a knife thrust into soft flesh. They appeared near military shipyards, supply depots, and command stations. They struck with devastating precision, using their quantum weapons and superior speed to inflict maximum damage before vanishing again. A Council supply hub near the border exploded as human ships emerged from faster-than-light travel, fired everything they had, and disappeared before defenders could respond. 3 Council patrol fleets found themselves ambushed by forces that should not have been able to penetrate so deeply into secure space. Panic spread through Council military leadership as humans seemed to be everywhere at once. But humans were not the only ones striking. The rebel species had grown bolder, inspired by Earth's defiance. They attacked Council facilities in their own regions, forcing the Council to divert ships from the main fleet to deal with multiple fronts. What was supposed to be a focused assault on Earth became a galaxy-wide conflict. On the front lines, Captain Woojin Lim led human ground forces in brutal fighting on a contested world. The Council had tried to establish a forward base on a strategically important planet, and Earth forces had deployed to stop them. The fighting was close and vicious, nothing like the clean warfare of space. They outnumber us 4-1, his lieutenant said, reviewing the tactical situation. Council doctrine says they should overwhelm us with mass assault. Then we teach them why doctrine gets you killed, Woojin replied. Human ground forces train for asymmetric warfare. We have been fighting each other for thousands of years. These Council species have been fighting rebellions against inferior technology. They have no idea what real ground combat looks like. He was right. When Council forces attacked expecting to overwhelm human positions with numbers, they found themselves in a nightmare. Humans used terrain expertly, set ambushes that slaughtered entire units and fought with a coordination and aggression that shocked their opponents. Every building became a fortress. Every street became a kill zone. Council forces bled for every meter of ground. Back in Earth's solar system, Dr. Sujin Ryu made final preparations on Project Sunbreaker. The weapon was massive, built in secret in the asteroid belt over 5 years. It was humanity's ultimate deterrent, and hopefully they would never need to use it. The targeting systems are calibrated, Sujin reported to Admiral Hyunwoo. We can trigger stellar instability in any star within 50 light years. The process takes approximately 6 hours once initiated, giving time for evacuation of planetary populations. But Admiral, if we use this, the galaxy will never forgive us. If we do not have it ready, the galaxy will not need to forgive us because we will be extinct, Hyunwoo replied. I pray we never activate it. But if the Council brings their full fleet to Earth, if they threaten our homeworld with annihilation, I will not hesitate to use every weapon we have. The truth was that Hyunwoo did not want to use Sunbreaker. The weapon was designed to destabilize stars, turning them into temporary novas. It was genocidal in scale, capable of wiping out entire systems, but its mere existence served a purpose. If the Council learned about it, they would have to consider whether destroying Earth was worth losing their own homeworlds. Captain Jiwan's strike force hit another Council staging area, destroying fuel depots and ammunition stores. But this time the Council was ready. They had adapted, learned from previous attacks. G1's ships found themselves surrounded by enemy vessels that had been lying in wait. All ships emergency scatter, G1 ordered. Do not try to fight through. Break out and regroup at the fallback coordinates. Her ship, the Defiant, took heavy damage covering the retreat of the other vessels. Shields collapsed under sustained fire. Hull breaches vented atmosphere into space. But her crew fought like demons, keeping the weapons firing even as systems failed around them. Captain, we have lost main engines, her engineer reported. We cannot jump to faster than light. Jiwan looked at her tactical display. 6 Council ships closing in, weapons hot. Her ship was crippled and alone, but she smiled grimly. Then we make them remember us. All remaining power to forward weapons. If we are going down, we take as many of them with us as possible. Before she could give the order to fire, new contacts appeared on sensors. Ships jumping in at high speed, weapons already firing. But they were not Council vessels. They were ships from 3 of the rebel species coming to aid the humans. Human vessel, this is the Kelthani warship Freedom's Price, a voice said over the communication channel. You stood with us when we declared independence. Now we stand with you. Let us handle these Council dogs. The rebel ships tore into the Council forces with fury born of generations of oppression. Jiwan's crew worked frantically to restore enough power to escape. By the time they managed to jump away, the rebel ships had destroyed 4 of the Council vessels and driven off the other 2. News of the rescue spread quickly through human networks. Earth was no longer fighting alone. Other species, inspired by humanity's resistance, were joining the fight. The Council's worst nightmare was coming true. The rebellion was spreading. In the Council chamber, Councillor Braylith raged at his fellow members. This is what comes from weakness and hesitation. We should have crushed Earth immediately. Now we face a galaxy-wide insurrection. We must commit everything to destroying the humans. Their death will serve as an example to all who dare defy us. Councillor Vexran stood and faced him directly. You still do not understand. The humans have already won. Not the war, perhaps, but the larger battle. They have shown every oppressed species that the Council can be beaten. They have exposed our lies and our corruption. Even if we destroy Earth tomorrow, the damage is done. The galaxy will never accept our rule the way it did before. Then we rule through fear, Braylith snarled. If cooperation will not work, obedience will suffice. That is not rule, Vexran said quietly. That is tyranny, and tyranny always falls eventually. The only question is how many will die before it does. 3 Council member species announced they were withdrawing from the war. They would not fight against Earth or the rebels. 2 more species declared neutrality. The unity that had defined the Council for millennia was shattering, and nothing anyone said could stop it. On Earth, General Sunho received the latest casualty reports. Thousands dead, tens of thousands wounded, ships lost, stations destroyed, colonies damaged. The price of resistance was steep. But when he walked through the streets of any Earth city, he saw determination, not despair. People knew what they were fighting for. They knew why it mattered. Admiral Hyunwoo made a decision. We cannot win a defensive war. They have too many ships, too many resources. We need to take the offensive, hurt them so badly that continuing the war becomes impossible. Prepare all strike forces. We are going after their core worlds, not just their military targets. We are going to make the Council leadership feel pain directly. It was a brutal calculation, attacking civilian infrastructure, even if avoiding direct civilian casualties crossed lines that humanity had tried to maintain. But Hyunwoo knew that this war would not end until the Council's will to fight was broken completely. Captain Ji-won, her ship repaired, prepared for the most dangerous mission yet. A direct strike on the Council homeworld itself, not to destroy it but to deliver a message that could not be ignored. Humanity could reach anywhere, strike anywhere, and the Council's leaders were not safe. As human forces gathered for the final phase of the war, as rebel species consolidated their gains, as the Council struggled to maintain control of its fragmenting alliance, everyone knew that the news of the battle spread across Council space like wildfire. 140 warships destroyed. The invasion fleet shattered. Admiral Krathox returning in disgrace with less than half his forces. The council chamber erupted into chaos as species argued, blamed, and demanded answers. Councillor Braylith's mandibles clicked furiously as he addressed the assembly. This is unacceptable. A primitive species has humiliated our military. We must respond with overwhelming force. Send every available ship to crush Earth once and for all. Councillor Vexran rose to speak, his voice calm but firm. Perhaps we should ask why our intelligence was so wrong. The humans had weapons we knew nothing about. Defenses we never detected. They were prepared for this war while we were blind to their capabilities. Maybe we should negotiate instead of escalating. Negotiate? Braylith turned on him. With animals who killed thousands of our people? No, we will teach them the price of defying the council. But Vexran's words had planted seeds of doubt. Whispers spread through the chamber. How had humanity developed such advanced weapons in secret? What else did they have? And more importantly, if humans could hide such things, what other species might be preparing for rebellion? On Earth, Ambassador Minji Lee prepared for the most important broadcast of her life. She stood in a secure studio, surrounded by equipment that would send her message to every corner of the galaxy. Behind her, holographic displays showed evidence that human intelligence operatives had gathered over decades. Evidence of council corruption, exploitation, and crimes. Ready when you are, Ambassador, the technician said. Minji took a deep breath and nodded. The recording began. People of the galaxy, she said, looking directly into the camera. My name is Minji Lee, and I represent Earth. 5 days ago, the Galactic Council sent a fleet to invade our system. They demanded we surrender our freedom or face destruction. We chose to fight. We destroyed half their fleet and sent the rest running. But this message is not about military victories. This is about truth. The displays behind her lit up with documents, recordings, and data streams. For 10,000 years, the Council has maintained its power through a simple method. They keep younger species weak. They limit our technology. They restrict our growth. They tell us it's for peace, for stability, for the good of all. But the truth is different. The truth is control. Images showed Council species denying technology transfers to junior members. Records of resources extracted from developing worlds with minimal compensation. Secret agreements to suppress scientific advancement among newer species. The evidence was damning. Earth's crime was not aggression, Minji continued. Our crime was refusing to stay weak. We developed our own technology. We explored our own region of space. We grew stronger, and the Council could not allow that. So they tried to break us. They failed. But this is not just about Earth. Every junior species in this galaxy faces the same chains, the same limits, the same future of permanent inferiority. She paused, letting her words sink in. The Council says they maintain peace. But peace at the cost of freedom is just slavery with better marketing. They say they protect us. But protection that requires surrender is just conquest. To every species watching this, to every world that has chafed under Council restrictions, I say this. You are not alone. Earth stands with you. If you choose to demand your rights, to claim your freedom, we will support you. The Council is not invincible. We proved that, and together we can build something better. The broadcast ended. Within hours it had spread across the galaxy, copied and shared by millions of beings. The Council tried to block it, to suppress it, but it was too late. The message was out, and it was resonating. On the human intelligence networks, Hyejin Song and her team of cyber warfare specialists went to work. They had spent years infiltrating Council systems, planting backdoors and preparing for this moment. Now they activated everything at once. Council military communications went dark. Classified files were leaked to public networks. Financial records showing corruption among Council leaders appeared on every major newsfeed. Defense grids glitched and failed. The digital infrastructure that the Council relied on began to crumble under a sustained assault that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. They're trying to trace us, Hyejin said, watching her screens. Route everything through the proxy networks. Use the Council's own systems against them. Make them think the attacks are coming from inside their own territory. Her team worked with practiced precision. They were not just hackers. They were information warriors, and they were fighting a battle just as important as any physical combat. Every secret they exposed, every system they disrupted, every piece of propaganda they undermined weakened the Council's grip on power. On Council worlds, human agents began to move. Minho Yu had lived on the Council homeworld for 20 years, working as a trader. Nobody suspected that he was actually a deep-cover operative. Now he activated the network he had carefully built over 2 decades. "All cells, this is Minho," he transmitted on the encrypted channel. "Operation Cascade is active. Target the infrastructure. Nothing that will hurt civilians, but everything that supports the military and government. We need to show them that humans are everywhere, and we can strike anywhere." Across dozens of council worlds, explosions and accidents began to occur. Power stations failed. Military supply depots burned. Government buildings lost their networks. Nothing catastrophic, but enough to create fear and paranoia. The council realized that humans had been among them for decades, waiting for this moment. 3 days after Minji's broadcast, the first crack appeared. A junior species called the Kelthani announced they were withdrawing from the council and declaring independence. They cited the same grievances Minji had outlined, the same restrictions and exploitation. Within hours, 2 more species followed. The council chamber descended into panic. Brayleth demanded immediate military action against the rebels. "We must crush them before this spreads. Use whatever force necessary." But Councillor Vexran stood firm. "If we attack them, we prove everything the humans said. We confirm that we are tyrants, not protectors. This will only drive more species to rebel." "What do you suggest?" Councillor Thexfall asked, his voice strained. "That we simply accept the dissolution of everything we built?" "I suggest we consider that maybe the humans are right," Vexran said quietly. "Maybe we have held power too long. Maybe it is time for real equality among species, not just the appearance of it." The chamber erupted in angry shouts. Half the council wanted war, wanted to crush both Earth and the rebels with overwhelming force. The other half saw the writing on the wall and wanted to negotiate, to reform, to survive. The unity that had held the council together for millennia was fracturing. On Earth, Admiral Hyunwoo Park received reports of the chaos with grim satisfaction. "They're fighting among themselves. Good, that buys us time. But we cannot assume they will stay divided. Brayleth and his faction will push for total war, and they may win the argument." General Sunho nodded. "Intelligence reports suggest they are assembling a massive fleet, 5 times larger than the first invasion. They will not make the same mistakes again." "Then neither will we," Hyunwoo replied. "Dr. Kang, how is Project Sunbreaker coming?" Dr. Yeji Kang appeared on the screen, looking exhausted but determined. "We are ahead of schedule. The weapon will be ready within the month. But Admiral, I must emphasize the danger. If we use this, there is no going back. The galaxy will see us as either saviors or monsters. If the Council brings 5,000 ships to Earth, we may not have a choice," Hyunwoo said. "Continue the work. I hope we never have to use it, but I will not risk humanity's extinction." Across the galaxy, the chess pieces were moving. The Council prepared its massive retaliatory fleet. Rebel species armed themselves and formed defensive packs. Human forces fortified their positions and prepared for the storm they knew was coming. And in the shadows, secret alliances were forming between unexpected partners. Councillor Vexaran contacted Ambassador Minji through secure channels. "You have started something that cannot be stopped," he said. "The Council will not survive this, regardless of who wins the war. But many innocent species will die in the chaos. Can Earth's conscience bear that? Can the Council's conscience bear enslaving entire civilizations?" Minji replied. "We did not want this war. We wanted partnership, equality, and freedom. The Council chose violence instead of cooperation. Now we all live with the consequences. Some of us tried to stop this," Vexran said quietly. "Some of us voted against the war. But we were outvoted by fear and pride." "Then help us end it," Minji said. "You know the Council's military plans. You know their strategies. Share that information and we can minimize the bloodshed." There was a long pause. Then Vexran said, "I will send you what I can. But know this, Ambassador. When this is over, when the Council falls, something must rise to replace it. Chaos benefits no one. What will Earth offer in place of what you are destroying?" "A chance," Minji replied. "A chance for every species to grow without artificial limits. A chance for real cooperation instead of forced obedience. A chance to build something better together. That's all we want. That's all we have ever wanted." The transmission ended. The Council fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kuiper Belt. 300 warships, each one massive and gleaming with advanced technology. They had traveled across the galaxy to teach humanity a lesson. Admiral Krethox of the Council military stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the scanner displays with satisfaction. "The human system appears quiet, his tactical officer reported. Minimal defensive readings. A few patrol ships near the inner planets, but nothing significant. Krathox's species did not smile, but he felt the equivalent emotion, just as predicted. They are paralyzed with fear. We will proceed to Earth and accept their surrender. If they resist, we will bombard their military installations from orbit. This will be over within days. The fleet moved forward, maintaining formation. They passed the first region of the Kuiper Belt without incident. Sensors showed only ice, rock, and a few old mining stations that appeared abandoned. Those mining stations, the tactical officer said. Should we scan them more carefully? Why? Krathox replied. They are clearly non-functional. The humans have fled inward. Proceed with the advance. That was his first mistake. Deep inside one of those supposedly abandoned stations, Lieutenant Sora Bayek watched her displays with intense focus. Around her, the station hummed with barely contained power. It was not a mining station anymore. It was a weapons platform, and it had been waiting for exactly this moment. Council fleet is in optimal position, she reported through the secure channel. All platforms report ready. Captain Jiwon Kim's voice came back instantly. Execute Operation Hammer. Sora pressed the activation sequence. Throughout the Kuiper Belt, dozens of stations came online simultaneously. What the Council had thought were abandoned buildings were actually disguised weapons platforms, each one packed with humanity's newest military technology. The singularity mines activated first. Points of impossible darkness appeared in the space around the Council fleet. Each mine created a small, controlled black hole that existed for only seconds, but seconds were enough. The gravitational forces tore at nearby ships, crushing hulls like paper. The Council's shields, designed to stop energy weapons and projectiles, did nothing against the fundamental force of gravity itself. 20 Council warships died in the first 5 seconds. What is happening? Krathox roared as alarm screamed across his bridge. Where are these weapons coming from? The mining stations, his tactical officer said, voice shaking. They were not abandoned. They were traps. All of them. The second wave came from the platforms themselves. Quantum disruption torpedoes launched in volleys, dozens at a time. They phased through the Council shields as if the shields did not exist, then reappeared inside the ships themselves. The results were catastrophic. Ships simply came apart, their molecular structure disrupted beyond recovery. Return fire, Krathox ordered. Destroy those platforms. The Council fleet opened up with everything they had. Energy beams and missiles streaked toward the human weapons platforms. But the platforms were heavily armored and surprisingly agile. More importantly, the humans had planned for this. As Council ships focused on the platforms, they exposed themselves to the real threat. Captain Doyen Han commanded the human fleet from the bridge of the Indomitable. His ships had been hiding in the shadow of large asteroids, their power signatures minimized, waiting for this exact moment. All ships, weapons free, he ordered. Target the Council command vessels first. Break their coordination. The human fleet burst from hiding like sharks attacking from below. They were outnumbered 3-1, but they had surprise, better weapons, and intimate knowledge of their home territory. The Indomitable led the charge, her quantum cannons tearing into the Council flagship's exposed flank. Wing Commander Taehun Oh launched from the Indomitable with his fighter squadron behind him. The Council had never fought human fighter pilots before. They were about to learn why that was a mistake. Gold Squadron split formation, Taehun commanded. Use pattern Delta 7. These big ships can't track fast-moving targets effectively. The human fighters moved like a school of fish, constantly shifting, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted. They struck at weak points in the Council ships, at sensor arrays and weapons batteries, at engine clusters and communication nodes. Each attack was precise and devastating. A Council carrier tried to launch its own fighters to counter them. Taehun saw it happen and adjusted immediately. All fighters converge on that carrier. Hit the launch base. The squadron dove toward the carrier, weaving through defensive fire that seemed slow and predictable. They fired their weapons directly into the open launch bays. Explosions blossomed inside the carrier as fuel and ammunition detonated. The entire ship shuddered and began to list. Back on the Indomitable, Doyen watched the battle unfold. The Council fleet was in chaos. They had expected an easy victory and found a nightmare instead. Ships collided with each other as they tried to reorganize. Orders conflicted. Panic spread. Sir, the Council flagship is trying to retreat, his tactical officer reported. No. Doyen said coldly. They came here to destroy us. They don't get to leave. All forward batteries, concentrate fire on that ship. I want it crippled, not destroyed. I want them to limp home and tell everyone what happened here. The Indomitable and 3 other human battleships focused their fire on the Council flagship. Shields collapsed under the sustained assault. Hull plating melted. Engines sputtered and died. The massive ship went dark, drifting helplessly in space. Admiral Krathox stared at his blank screens in disbelief. His fleet was being torn apart by forces he had dismissed as primitive. 40 ships destroyed in the first minutes. Dozens more damaged. And the humans were not slowing down. They fought with a ferocity and coordination that his forces could not match. Send a retreat signal, he said quietly. All ships withdraw immediately. But retreating was harder than advancing. The human forces pursued relentlessly, harrying the Council ships as they tried to escape. More vessels fell to the quantum torpedoes and the precise strikes of human fighters. By the time the surviving Council ships managed to reach minimum safe distance for their faster-than-light drives, they had lost nearly half their fleet. 140 ships had been destroyed or disabled. The rest fled toward Council space, carrying news of the disaster. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Doyen allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. Around him, his crew cheered and embraced. They had done the impossible. They had beaten a force 3 times their size and sent the survivors running. Damage report, he ordered, bringing them back to focus. 15 ships lost, 32 damaged but operational. His tactical officer replied. Casualties are still being counted, but preliminary numbers suggest around 2,000 dead, 5,000 wounded. Doyen's satisfaction dimmed. 2,000 people who would never go home. 2,000 families that would mourn. The price of victory was high even when you won. Secure the area, he ordered. Rescue any survivors, ours and theirs. And prepare the fleet. This was just the first battle. They'll be back with more ships. Captain Jiwan Kim's face appeared on his screen. Well done, Captain. The Admiral wants full reports within the hour. But I wanted to say this first. You and your people were magnificent. Earth is proud of you. Thank you, ma'am, Doyen replied. But this is just the beginning. We bloodied their nose. Now they'll come back angry. Let them, Jiwan said with a hard smile. We'll be ready. Across the solar system, news of the victory spread rapidly. On Earth, people celebrated in the streets. On Mars and the orbital stations, citizens watched the battle recordings with awe and pride. Humanity had faced the Council's might and won. But in the command centers and war rooms, the military leadership knew better. This had been a raid, a probing attack. The Council had thousands of ships. They had resources spanning hundreds of worlds. This victory was important, but it was only the first step in a much longer war. Admiral Hyunwoo Park watched the battle recordings for the 5th time, analyzing every moment, looking for lessons to learn. His forces had performed brilliantly, but they had also been lucky. The Council had underestimated them completely. That would not happen again. Send a message to all our intelligence operatives in Council space, he ordered. I want to know their reaction. I want to know what they're planning next. And I want to know which Council species are having second thoughts about this war. Because that was the real victory today. Not the ships destroyed or the battle won. The real victory was the message they had sent to the entire galaxy. Earth could fight. Earth would fight. And Earth would make any aggressor pay dearly for their mistake. The Council had turned against Earth expecting a quick victory. Instead, they had received a brutal lesson. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was a predator that had been pretending to be harmless. Now the mask was off, and the galaxy was about to see what humans really were when pushed to the edge. General Sun Ho Choi stood in the war room deep beneath Earth's military headquarters. Around him, holographic displays showed every corner of the solar system, ships moving into position, defense platforms activating, millions of people preparing for what was coming. How much time do we really have? He asked the woman standing next to him. Dr. Yeji Kang adjusted her glasses and pulled up another display. Our intelligence says 20 days at most. Maybe less. The Council fleet is already moving. They lied about the 30 days. They want to catch us unprepared. Sun Ho nodded grimly. They still think we're stupid. Good. Let them keep thinking that. The door opened and Admiral Hyunwoo Park entered with Captain Jiwan Kim. Both looked tired from their journey back from Council space, but their eyes were sharp and determined. General, Hyunwoo said, Status report. All military personnel have been recalled, Sunho replied. Every ship, every soldier, every pilot. The colonies are being fortified. Civilian transports are moving non-essential people to safer locations. And Dr. Kang has something to show us. Yeji smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had been waiting years for this moment. Follow me, please. She led them through secure corridors to a laboratory protected by layers of security. Inside, various devices sat on tables, each one looking dangerous in ways that were hard to explain. Welcome to Project Prometheus, Yeji said. We started this 15 years ago. Some of us saw this day coming. Some of us knew the Council would eventually fear us enough to attack. So we prepared. She walked to the first table. Quantum disruption torpedoes. They phase through normal shields and tear apart matter at the molecular level. The Council's shield technology is useless against them. Next table. Singularity mines. Each one creates a temporary black hole. Small, controlled, but devastating. Plant them in the right locations and you can destroy entire fleets. Another table. Kinetic bombardment satellites. We've placed hundreds in orbit around key positions. Old-fashioned physics, but at relativistic speeds, even a small projectile hits like a nuclear weapon. Jiwan stared at the weapons. How long have we been preparing for war with the Council? Since we joined, Yeji said bluntly. We learned from human history. Never trust powerful neighbors who smile while keeping you weak. We smiled back. We played nice. And we built weapons in secret. Hyunwoo walked along the tables, examining each device. How many ships does the Council have? Current intelligence suggests 300 warships in the invasion fleet, Sunho answered. More will come if needed. They have thousands of vessels across their territory. Then we need to make sure those first 300 never report back, Hyunwoo said coldly. If the Council thinks this will be easy, their next wave will be smaller. But if we hurt them badly enough in the first battle, they'll bring everything they have. That gives us time to prepare for the real war. A communication alert blinked on Sunho's device. He answered it and a man's face appeared. He looked human, but his location was clearly on a Council station based on the background. Youngsu Nam reporting, the man said quietly. The fleet will arrive in 20 days. They're spreading rumors it will take 30 to make you relax your guard. Also, they have orders to target population centers first. They want to break your will to fight immediately. Jiwon's hands clenched into fists. They're going to attack civilians? The Council believes humans will surrender to save lives, Youngsu continued. They're wrong, but that's their plan. I'm sending you the fleet composition and attack routes now. Be careful. Some Council species are starting to ask questions about this war. Not all of them agree with it. Thank you, Youngsu, Hyunwoo said. Stay safe. We'll need your intelligence in the days ahead. The communication ended. Sunho pulled up the data Youngsu had sent. Attack routes, ship types, weapons capabilities, everything they needed to plan a defense. They're coming through the Kuiper Belt, he said, studying the routes. They think we have minimal defenses out there. They think our main forces will be clustered around Earth. Then we'll give them a surprise, Hyunwoo said. He turned to Jiwon. I'm giving you command of the outer system defense. Take the Indomitable and the 5th Fleet. Turn the Kuiper Belt into a graveyard. Yes, sir, Jiwon said. Dr. Kang, Hyunwoo continued. I need those quantum torpedoes ready in 15 days. Can you do it? We can have them ready in 10, Yeji replied. We've been testing them for years. They're ready to deploy now. Another alert came through. This time it was Ambassador Minji Lee calling from a secret location in Council space. Admiral, I have important news, Minji said. Counselor Vexron contacted me through back channels. He's one of the 3 who voted against the war. He says other junior species are watching Earth closely. If we fight back successfully, some of them might rebel against the Council too. How many species are we talking about? Hyunwoo asked. Maybe a dozen that are unhappy with Council rule, Minji answered. But they're afraid. They need to see that the Council can be beaten. They need to see humans win. Then we'll give them something to see, Hyunwoo said. Keep those channels open. If the Council starts to fracture, we can exploit that. After the communication ended, the 4 of them stood in silence for a moment. Outside this room, Earth was preparing for war. Factories worked around the clock building weapons. Shipyards constructed new vessels. Training centers filled with volunteers who wanted to defend their world. We're going to lose people, Jiwon said quietly. A lot of people. Yes, Hyunwoo agreed. But if we don't fight, we lose everything. our freedom, our future, our right to exist as equals in this galaxy. The Council wants to put chains on humanity. They want to control our growth, our exploration, our very existence. I'd rather die fighting than live as their pets. Sunho nodded. I've activated Protocol Ragnarok. If they want Earth, they'll have to take it meter by meter, and every meter will cost them dearly. What about the outer colonies? Yeji asked. Mars, the asteroid settlements, the stations around Jupiter? They're armed and ready, Sunho replied. We're not just defending Earth, we're defending every place humans call home. The Council wants to teach us a lesson. Instead, we're going to teach them one. Over the next 15 days, the solar system transformed. Mining stations became weapons platforms. Civilian ships were retrofitted with military equipment. The asteroid belt turned into a maze of hidden defenses. And in the darkness of the Kuiper Belt, Captain Ji-won Kim positioned her fleet exactly where the Council would not expect them. On Earth, billions of people watched the preparations. There was fear, yes, but there was also determination. Humanity had faced extinction before. From ice ages to nuclear weapons, from plagues to climate disasters, they had survived. They would survive this too. In the Lunar Military Command Center, Admiral Hyunwoo Park watched the countdown. 20 days had become 15, then 10, then 5. Soon it would be 0. The Council fleet was coming, full of confidence and arrogance. They thought they were bringing justice to a rebellious species. They were wrong. They were bringing war to a species that had perfected it over thousands of years. They were attacking beings who had turned warfare into an art form. They were threatening the homeworld of a species that would burn down the galaxy before accepting chains. Captain Doyon Han stood on the bridge of the battleship Indomitable, looking at his crew. They were young, most of them, born in a time of peace with the Council. They had never known real war, but they were ready. They had trained. They had prepared. And they knew what was at stake. All stations report ready, his tactical officer said. Good, Doyon replied. The Council thinks they're coming to pacify primitives. Let's show them what primitives can do. In the darkness of space, humanity waited, silent, patient, ready. The Council was about to learn an important lesson. Earth did not start this war, but Earth would certainly finish it. The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber slid open with a hiss that echoed through the vast space. Captain Ji-won Kim walked forward, her boots clicking against the polished floor. Above her, hundreds of alien beings sat in tiered seats that rose toward the domed ceiling. Their eyes, in all shapes and colors, watched her approach the center platform. Ji-won had been to this chamber many times in the past 5 years. She served as one of Earth's representatives to the Council, but today felt different. The air itself seemed heavy with something dark and final. Captain Kim of Earth, a deep voice boomed from the highest seat. Councillor Thexeval, the reptilian chairman, looked down at her with cold yellow eyes. His scales gleamed under the chamber lights. You stand before this council to receive our judgment. Ji-won stopped at the platform and stood straight. She wore her military uniform with pride, the blue and white colors of Earth's defense force. Behind her, she could feel the hostile stares of dozens of species. Species that had once called humanity their friends. We are ready to hear the Council's words, Ji-won said clearly. Thexeval's mouth curved into what might have been a smile. It looked more like a threat. 50 years ago, we welcomed humanity into our great alliance. We shared our knowledge. We opened the stars to your primitive species. And how have you repaid our generosity? Another voice joined in. Councillor Brelith, an insectoid being with multiple eyes and clicking mandibles, leaned forward. Humans consume resources at alarming rates. You expand your colonies without permission. Your military grows larger each year. You refuse to follow the protocols that have kept peace for 10,000 years. Ji-won clenched her jaw but remained silent. She knew this was coming. For months, Earth's diplomats had warned that something was brewing in the Council. Complaints about human expansion. Whispers about humanity being too aggressive, too curious, too dangerous. The Council has debated your fate for many cycles. Thexeval continued. We have reached a decision. For the safety of all civilized species, Earth must accept new terms of membership. A holographic document appeared in the air before Ji-won. She read through it quickly, and her blood went cold. Surrender all military vessels. Dismantle orbital defense platforms. Allow Council forces to occupy key positions throughout the solar system. Accept Council oversight of all government decisions. The words blurred together into one clear message. Slavery. This is not membership, Jiwan said loudly. This is conquest. The chamber erupted in angry chittering growls and sounds she had no name for. Brilith's mandibles clicked rapidly. You see? This is exactly the arrogance we speak of. You are children among ancients. You should be grateful we allow you to exist at all. Grateful? Jiwan's voice cut through the noise. You want us to give up everything we built. Everything we fought for. You want us defenseless and under your control. That's not protection. That's domination. Texval slammed his scaled hand on his seat. Silence. You will accept these terms or the council will enforce them. We have been patient with humanity's defiance. That patience has ended. How long do we have to consider these terms? Jiwan asked, though she already knew Earth's answer. 30 days, Texval said. If Earth does not comply, the council will deploy peacekeeping forces to bring order to your system. This is not negotiable. This is the will of the council. I need to call for the vote, Jiwan said firmly. That is council law. All major decisions require a full vote. Texval looked annoyed but nodded. Very well. Let the vote commence. All in favor of enforcing compliance measures against Earth? Jiwan watched as lights appeared across the chamber. Green for yes, red for no. The votes came in rapidly. Green, green, green. Hundreds of green lights filled the space. Her heart sank with each one. Then she saw 3 red lights. 3 species had voted against this madness. It was not enough. The vote is decided, Texval announced. 47 in favor, 3 opposed. Earth has 30 days to comply with our terms. Captain Kim, deliver this message to your leaders. Make them understand that we are offering mercy. If you refuse, you will face the full might of the Galactic Council. Jiwan looked up at the hundreds of alien faces. Some looked satisfied. Some looked eager. A few looked uncertain. She thought about what she should say. She thought about being diplomatic, about trying to buy more time, about pleading for understanding. Then she thought about Earth, about the billions of humans who had built something beautiful among the stars, about the men and women who had died exploring the unknown, about every child who looked up at the night sky and dreamed of touching it. I will deliver your message, Jiwan said slowly. But I want you to remember this moment. Remember that you could have had humanity as true allies. Instead, you chose to treat us as slaves. You mistake our mercy for weakness. You mistake our cooperation for submission. You believe that because you are older, you are wiser. You believe that because you have numbers, you have strength. She paused and looked directly at Texval. You are wrong. Humanity did not crawl out of caves and reach the stars by accepting chains. We did not survive wars, plagues, and extinction-level disasters by bowing to tyrants. You think you know us. You know nothing. Braylith laughed, a horrible clicking sound. Empty threats from a child species. You have 30 days, Captain. Use them wisely. Jiwan turned and walked toward the doors. As she moved, she heard the jeering, the mocking sounds from hundreds of beings who thought they had already won. She did not look back. She did not show fear. She walked with her head high and her shoulders square. The doors closed behind her and she allowed herself one long breath. Ambassador Minji Lee was waiting in the corridor, her face pale. They actually did it, Minji whispered. They declared war on us. Yes, Jiwan said. They did, and they have no idea what they just started. She pulled out her communication device and opened a secure channel to Earth. Admiral Hyunwoo Park's face appeared on the screen. Captain Kim reporting, sir. The Council has issued an ultimatum. 30 days to surrender or they attack. Hyunwoo's expression did not change. Understood. Return home immediately. We have preparations to make, sir, Jiwan said quietly. They voted 47-3. Almost the entire galaxy wants us gone. Then the entire galaxy is about to learn something important, Hyunwoo replied. They're about to learn why you should never corner a human being. Come home, Captain. It's time to show them who we really are. The communication ended. Jiwan and Minji walked toward the docking bay where their ship waited. Around them, alien beings moved through the station, unaware that everything was about to change. They thought they had won. They thought humanity would submit or die quickly. Jiwan knew better. She had studied human history. She knew what her species did when faced with extinction. They fought. They adapted. They survived. And sometimes they made their enemies regret ever making them fight at all. The Council had turned against Earth. They thought they were signing humanity's death warrant. They were wrong. They had signed their own.